For hours, the rain had been relentless, soaking everything in its path. The roadside was a gray blur of water and headlights. Most people just rushed by, focused only on finding shelter. No one even noticed the cardboard box. It was sagging and waterlogged, just another piece of trash against the curb. It would have been so easy to assume it was empty. But it wasn't. Inside, curled into the smallest possible ball, was a tiny puppy. His fur was matted down, and his whole body trembled from the cold. He was so thin you could see his ribs with every shallow breath. He didn't cry. He seemed to have already learned that crying wouldn't bring anyone back. Someone had left him there on purpose, just far enough from the road to be forgotten. They probably thought the rain would take care of things. No responsibility, no guilt. The puppy didn't know any of that. All he knew was the biting cold, the gnawing hunger, and the overwhelming feeling that the world was a harsh and lonely place. But then, a woman walking home slowed down. Something about the box just felt wrong, too still, too deliberate. She stopped, rain dripping from her jacket as she crouched and pushed the wet cardboard aside. For a second, she saw nothing. Then, the puppy lifted his head just a little. His eyes were dull with exhaustion, but when they met hers, something flickered. It wasn't fear or anger. It was hope. A tiny, fragile spark of it. "Oh no," she whispered. When her hands reached into the box, he didn't pull away. He simply leaned into her warmth, pressing his wet nose into her palm as if he'd been waiting for this moment his whole life. At the vet clinic, the diagnosis was grim. Severe hypothermia, dehydration, and dangerously underweight. The vet was honest. "He's very weak. We'll do what we can." Wrapped in towels, surrounded by the soft beeping of machines, he was barely moving. Every breath looked like a struggle, but when the woman who found him stroked his head, his eyes followed her hand. He was still full of love, even then. The first night was touch and go. Volunteers checked on him constantly, whispering words of encouragement. He slept most of the time, waking only for a few drops of warm milk from a syringe. By morning, he was still there, still breathing, still fighting, and that alone felt like a miracle. Slowly, day by day, he began to heal. He learned the rhythm of gentle hands, soft voices, and warmth that didn't leave. His spirit, though quiet, started to stretch. He'd lift his head when someone entered the room. Then he started to lick a volunteer's finger. They named him Rain, because he had survived the storm. Rain grew slowly, his steps shaky and uncertain at first. He didn't bark or play. He just wanted to be near people, trailing behind them with quiet devotion. He learned that laps were safe, that food would always come, and that being held didn't mean being abandoned. Soon, his tail began to wag soft, careful wags, as if he was still learning how to hope. Weeks later, you'd barely recognize the puppy from the roadside. His fur was fluffy, his eyes were bright, and his small body was filled with a surprising strength. But the most amazing part was his trust. He greeted strangers gently and leaned into every touch. It was as if he knew how precious kindness was. When a family came to meet him, Rain didn't jump or bark. He just walked over to the smallest child, sat down, and rested his head on her knee. That was all it took. On his adoption day, the woman who found him came to say goodbye. Rain recognized her instantly, his tail wagging faster than ever before. She laughed softly, scratching his ears. "You're going to be okay now." Rain just looked up at her, calm and steady. He already knew. Some lives are born into warmth. Others have to survive the cold first. Rain was one of the lucky ones, not because he was abandoned, but because one person chose to stop, to notice, and to care. A single act of kindness changed his entire world. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to spread a little kindness wherever you go.